There are a lot of reasons that women in India are vulnerable. They are seen as the property of family. They may be affected by old ideas of caste. They are often punished when raped, subjected to dishonor killing. Their word, even in groups, disbelieved when compared to the word of a man. They have been subjected to horrific revenge rape as well. They feel the brunt of rampant corruption the most and are most affected economically. And sometimes when the systems that allegedly protect them fail miserably, they rise up and say, "Not today, Satan, not today." August the 13th, 2004 would be one of those days. The truth of it, because the truth told by the women was overshadowed by the propaganda of government, would take a long time to be known outside of that slum of Kastabura Nagar in Nagpur. On that day, 200 women, more or less, armed themselves with stones, kitchen knives, and chili powder wrapped in cloth, and they walked together into the center of the city, to a district courtroom filled with police and court officials. Police and officials fled in the face of the women, such brave men that they are. When the women seized a gangster, Aku Yadav, who was 32 years old, when the women were done with him, well, there would be very little left of him. The women were allegedly detained for a few hours, but really, they left. They left, their mission complete, and they went home. For days, civil authorities tried to interview the women to find out exactly what happened, but the women were not about to talk to the system that already failed them. They weren't going to offer themselves up for prosecution or punishment. The truth was the truth that no one was willing to listen to before. Yadav had terrorized their community for more than a decade. He killed, extorted, raped. He dragged women out of their homes to beat and rape them. He and his little gang would bust into homes where women were left alone or with only elders or children, and those women were gang raped. Even pregnant women and children were targeted. He raped the women to control and humiliate the men, often knowing that the low-caste families would face enormous obstacles if they tried to report him. Dozens would report him, though, and find out that he was right. The police were not taking his crimes seriously at all, often mocking the women who tried to report his rapes. They would accuse the women of having affairs with Yadav and refuse to take any report at all. Occasionally, he would be arrested, set free on bail, and allowed to just continue what he's always done. Yadav was actually in custody that day to protect him after he threatened witnesses with acid attacks. A number of angry women surrounded his house. He had just raped a 7-month pregnant woman who was taken unconscious to hospital. Police only acted against him when the mob threatened him at his home. Otherwise, the man had been free for more than 10 years to do what he was doing to the women living in that slum. And they were done. They were done. There would be no bail for him, no more corruption, no more police failures to protect the women. It was done. It was done and it was over with. When the women returned to their homes that day, there would be safety. After what the women had done to Yadav, his little gang of criminal minions would think twice about harassing or hurting any of them. They were Dalit women. People used to call them untouchable, the lowest caste, the least protected, the least respected, forced into a position where they had to take matters into their own hands. These were not a group of women who wanted to be vigilantes, who had some sort of heroic mission in mind. They were tired, they were terrified, and they were abandoned by the very people who should have made sure of their peace and their security. In the end, authorities, instead of delving into what had happened in the 10 years before the murder, arrested 18 women. All of them were acquitted. The court had harsh words for the local police and recommended action against a number of officers. The killing in central India in 2004 would not be the last. Conditions have not changed enough for women, especially women of lower castes. In May 2023, 2 minority girls were stripped naked, paraded through the streets, and then gang raped in Manipur. Part of the abuse was recorded and uploaded to social media in July. There was a man in the videos encouraging the gang rapes and the abuse, yelling at locals to participate in the vile, disgusting attack. Well, women found that man, and they found where he lived, and they basically tore apart his house before setting fire to it. Police finally made an arrest, though, of the ringleader and 3 other men. They were hunting 30 others as well. 34 men. 34 men who participated in the gang rape of 2 lower caste women. The gang rapes happened in the context of ethnic clashes in the area that had seen 125 people killed and more than 40,000 displaced. The victims had been fleeing violence when more violence was inflicted on them for nothing more than humiliation and revenge. That's what their bodies were used for. And in Rajnagar, 3 men gang raped a 7-year-old girl and hung her body from a tree. She had gone to a store to buy treats after school and was alone when she was nabbed and killed. Villagers had long suspected a local man and 2 of his friends of molesting local women and girls. Before police could even begin to investigate, a mob formed, seized the 3 men, and beat Ratan Shah to death, leaving his 2 friends in critical condition. The mob killing came after several other villages had similar crimes happen where the young rape victims were hung from trees. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying these videos and you want to see more, please click the subscribe button and hit those notifications so that you don't miss any uploads. We appreciate you. Thanks.